There we go. Okay, so basically, one of the things that I've realized over the last year or so that's been really a big theme of mine is the idea that um, if you ever hear of the hero's journey, that's basically Joseph Campbell's thing about the monomyth and everything. And to me, what I realized is it's really a central core message to also the entrepreneur's journey. If we all hear about entrepreneurs having these highs and lows and all that kind of stuff, and really what that, to me, the bigger picture thing about it is the idea that you have this kind of status quo, whether it's your customer or the business and stuff like that. There's things that you the way things have been, and at some point something kind of makes you realize that it's not enough, that we've got to do something different and stuff. And the thing that kind of comes up right away is the fear, kind of the doubt and but that call to action, that initial call is what really, kind of separates it from, somebody was saying today that we don't suddenly have this idea of wanting to go on a diet, for example, and then we go through the training and we maybe get some coaching and stuff like that, and everything's kind of hunky-dory. That's just not the way it works. Usually it's something that happens along the lines of, hey, Wendy, and usually it's something along the lines of where maybe they have this upcoming dance and stuff like that, and they have this idea that this is my chance to kind of stand out and to kind of turn things around in my life and stuff like that. It's that in other words, there's something that kind of drives the realization that something's got to be different. And until that something happens and stuff, that catalyst, okay, welcome, Steve. All right, then we really just stay within our comfort zone. And in other words, that's just something I've noticed even with clients and stuff like that. That when I have a friend who I kind of told Steve about that, he's a guy that definitely has potential to be a commercial actor, stuff like that. And I've told him different times, I've even offered to invest in his, kind of development and stuff like that. I've offered to be his manager and all that. But the thing of it is, though, meanwhile, he's not going to take that step because he's fine in his comfort zone. I'm sure, especially the folks here, that you have these folks you've worked with and that recognize that, that you recognize in them that they're not going to change because nothing's going to happen that kind of wakes them out of their comfort zone and where they're kind of stuck and stuff like that. And so no matter how much, kind of you see the need for there to change, and maybe the part of the rational mind realizes it stuff, but until something kind of basically confronts them, that then, there's really no, there's no call, so I'm kind of definitely opening it up for kind of thoughts about that, about how really, we get stuck in these patterns. And that's to me what really the real central core of the hero's journey and stuff like that is that until something kind of happens, kind of there's really no desire for a change and stuff. But that desire for change is why somebody starts a business, because they realize that we've got to do something different. That's why a customer will decide that it's finally time to kind of check out that webinar or to crack open that ebook and stuff like that, and then to seek your help and stuff as an entrepreneur.
You really hit the nail on the head for me. My personal story, back in 2010, I got really sick. I was working as an occupational therapist. I went into ICU, came out a week later, and could no longer do my job anymore. And it was the life changer, I was home, and of course I was educated, I had skills, but I didn't know what I was going to do sitting at home. And I was just not able at that point in time to go out into the workforce because it was something that was going to take a while to get over. And I had to basically reinvent myself. And that was, I was the type of person that I was always used to working, 7 days a week and taking care of the kids and doing the this and doing the that. And I was just always on the go from the minute I got up to the minute I went to bed. And then it was just like a total life changer when, you know, I got sick and all of a sudden here I am at home. Now I've got to do things a lot differently until I get my health back. You know, I'm not working anymore. What am I going to do? I have to take these skills that I have and find something new. And that's, I think you know, it's just that hunger down inside of you, to be that person that's giving and doing and helping. And I think that's honestly what it takes to be an entrepreneur. As an OT, I was always helping other people do everything that, you know, for their life. I mean, I was working in geriatrics. I had to help them from breakfast until they went to bed, you know, depending on what time of day I was there. And I was just a helping type person. And to not have that anymore, not to have that capacity to give to others and help people succeed and excel, it was just definitely the game changer for me, because I had to find that, you know, it's like all that feeling down inside, and I had to find a way to get it out again. So that's because I had marketing within my job. We would market to the doctors and people coming in, and we'd do marketing events. And that's how I got into the online world. And it's really, anytime that I think about, you know, like when I first got started, anytime I thought about giving up or just playing it small or whatever, then I just kind of think back to that time when I was just sitting at home with nothing to do. You know, do you want to go back to that stage? Because if you're not always stepping your game up, you know, 10 times more than what you did the day before, then you'll just start falling back to that nothing again. And that's how I see it. And that's how I push myself. And that's how I try to be unstoppable. And that's how I try to push my clients too. You know, it's like, you know, do you want to go back to nothingness, or do you want to step your game up?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing is, though, it's also really scary, though. Like, in other words, like you said, you have these doubts and everything like that, because we tend to want to contract back to our comfort zone. That's our natural tendency.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. It's so easy to kind of just fall right back to old patterns and old routines and stuff like that. But it's like, you know, it's until we're confronted with this catalyst, it's something that kind of really, like, you know, for you is getting sick and stuff like that. And until that happened and everything, we don't see like kind of the need really, you know, for the change. Like, in other words, until we feel that need, it's kind of really just all kind of like something like, oh, you know, like we'll do it. You know, like how many New Year's resolutions, right? We all kind of have the best of intentions, but we never, you know, take action on it. It's only like when it's like right there in front of us that, like, you know, like somebody for smoking, they're like, you know, finally, like, you know, they get that, you know, that doctor who like says, you know, like,
you better quit.
You're done in a year or so if you don't kind of change and stuff like that. So that's the thing about, like, you know, with entrepreneurs as well. Like, kind of, you know, like a lot of folks want to be entrepreneurs, but it's like until something like kind of like they lose a job, or like their family, like they realize that, like, you know, I can't provide for them doing what we've been doing and stuff like that. They just, you know, will just stick to the way they've always done things and stuff. And that's really like one of the key things and stuff. And Steve and I have talked about that, about how, like, you know, we worked with some of these different guys who, like, they, you know, see like all these kind of get rich ideas and stuff like that. But the thing is, though, like, it's really like, you know, kind of the thing of where that's not enough either. Like, kind of, you know, like it's not enough to kind of have this gold ring to chase after. Something's kind of got to light a, you know, match under them and stuff like that. And one of the things that, you know, like I shared, you know, just over the past day or so is, you know, have you heard of James Altucher and Choose Yourself?
No, I haven't.
It's a phenomenal book, and it's something that, like, I share with a lot of folks now. I kind of call it the red pill, you know, like in the Matrix, where, like, you know, you will not see things the same again. I mean, that's absolutely, like, you know, for me, the first red pill was the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, like probably like a lot of folks and stuff. But for me lately, it's been James Altucher, because of how, like, you know, a lot of folks are still stuck in the same pattern or the belief, you know, the comfort zone of, you know, earn a degree, get a job, retire, and those days are gone. I mean, that's
that way anymore.
it's not an option anymore, and people don't see that. Like, kind of, that's one of the things that like I'm really big about, and but it's like, unfortunately, it's like kind of like the, whether the frog in the boiling water thing, whatever stuff. I think of it as more like kind of like this underlying sickness that like is there, but like people don't see it yet. Like kind of it's only like another analogy I've been calling it is like kind of it's like the whole Walking Dead thing. I mean, there's this kind of there's these different folks who are like they are enslaved to the debt that's kind of like looming and stuff like that, and it's not sustainable. Like if you look out like kind of 10, 20 years, whatever, stuff like that, that debt is growing, but yet the income and the things of what most people are earning and stuff like that is not growing. I mean, it's
what kills me is these college kids working at McDonald's and places like that.
Exactly.
It's just like, wow, they're trying to pay off college debt now on a McDonald's paycheck.
And that's all. That's really
a lot of people into entrepreneurship because they're just sick of that. That maybe they still have to do it while they're getting their businesses started, but I think that's a lot of the fuel for people's fire nowadays is that they just want a better way.
I think, like what's the old kind of stereotype is the idea of like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. But really what people are missing is that there's been a big change that's hadn't happened. Like there's a lot more empowerment now. Like, we're really what we have at our hands is this capability to have a television station at our fingertips. I mean, that's something that like was never available before. So Here's the thing. What that to me is like, what I call 1,000 true fans idea is that like you can have the capability now to just basically have people that like really will essentially purchase whatever it is that you're producing, whether it's an ebook or a course, those kinds of things, stuff like that like you have the capability of developing these kind of fans that like before didn't exist. Before, I mean, what would it take to like kind of reach people, right? To when you created an ebook, it's just that just wasn't available and stuff like that. But now we can produce videos, we can produce ebooks. I mean, all these things are readily, kind of at our fingertips. And this concept of the fat tail is what's, exists now that like didn't exist before. It's before you only had the long tail, which just basically like you had, like the Madonnas and the Lady Gaga level success, and then it's the rest of us, right? Now there's a possibility of, so much more. Like, in other words, it's blown up now. Instead of this kind of thin sliver of the market, now we have like this, wedge of the market that's available to all different, segments and stuff. And it's something that like people aren't recognizing. But the thing is, though, you can't do it by simply like kind of, like kind of throw out a video and expect it to go viral, or, you've got to develop and nurture.
It's a lot of work for, that's what kills me about some people. They think that they can just get online, do a few periscopes, do a few blabs, set up a Facebook page and a Twitter page, and everybody will come to them. It's that it'll happen to me.
But that's what's it's sold, I mean, and these kids are buying into it, like kind of that's the thing that like Steve and I talk about all the time. It's like that's what people believe in, is like kind of the results versus the process thing and stuff. And that's really one of the key things that like I'm actually in this edX course that I'm talking to these young guys, and all of them are focused on the certificate that like it's a certificate for like kind of like if you graduate, like kind of then you get recognition that you took this creative entrepreneur course. Well, who's that going to matter? Which business is going to hire you from taking a course for creative entrepreneurs? And they're so focused on that. Like I can show you like kind of discussion after discussion on that.
I'm turn into action, not the piece of paper.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm trying to tell these kids like, listen, like I've worked with entrepreneurs for these past dozen or so years, and I'm telling you that like, focus on the big picture of what really matters. And it's learning the process, learning about how to communicate better, learning how to like, develop relationships with your audience and stuff. These are the things that really matter. Like, like don't, like people are so quick to like jump on tricks and like gimmicks of like kind of, and the thing is though, like for me, Blab is not just a toy because, or a gimmick and stuff, because I've been doing Hangouts for the past, a couple of years and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just another medium. It's just another, way for me to do the things I've been doing of like talking with folks like minds and then spreading the message and stuff. It's there's going to be other tools that like, the next years or stuff coming out even faster and stuff, but it's not going to matter to me because I'm just basically going to it's just going to be another place for me to kind of share this message, So that's the thing that like Steve and I talk about all the time is process versus results.
What a lot of these kids nowadays don't understand is, you just don't sign up and all of a sudden you have a business. You have to really work at it. And, you have to really be on Periscope, every day. You have to get on these Blabs and meet people. You've got to be talking to people on Facebook. You've got to be tweeting stuff. You've got to be on Instagram, and that is work. Try fitting that into an 8-hour day. And then on top of that, doing funnels to sell your product, sending out emails and all this other stuff. And, they just get to the point that they shut down when they realize that they actually have to put some effort into it. And that's what I'm finding with the younger crowd. The right. Older crowd kind of has they understand that they have to do that kind of work, but a lot of them are working other jobs and then coming home and doing what they can at night. And that's where their problem lies. So it's a difficult, even if you're home full time, it's really hard to get it all done unless you've got that fire to really want to succeed. And you're just going to get up every day. You're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to stay up like me till 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and never sleep. And, it's what it takes. You've got to do that until you get to a certain level. Then you can hire people to help you. And but like I said, kids nowadays, they just absolutely do not get it. They just don't.
And young or old though, like it's the thing of like the other problem is that like the approach of like simply putting like, oh, buy this or join, like kind of my list and stuff like that is they think that that's going to do it. And it's absolutely, yeah. And it's like, I'm just gonna be it doesn't work that way. It's about bringing value, like kind of constantly looking for ways you can bring value to the table. The mantra that like I talk about different times is you have to have, this idea that like it's value before reward. It's not the other way around. It's not like, you get the reward. Yeah, and then you start kind of providing value and stuff like that. It's absolutely, like just one of the things that like really is, I think, hard for, like kind of young or old or whatever, whoever stuff like that to wrap their brains around that that's the key and stuff like that. And I think part of it is like, again, they're sold, like kind of what they see is like kind of these folks who like just about selling and about, like kind of like, and the old school mentality of always be closing and, no, it's absolutely about like kind of, what can you do to kind of, help somebody first and stuff. And that's the thing that really, it's really hard too, because I think for, again, what this generation of, kind of kids is about is like, they see like kind of, it's all about like getting the gratification first, about like kind of instant gratification
the
stuff.
In your Facebook private messages, buy my product. Don't you love those? Here you go. Buy my product. You need it.
and it's different times like they're kind of sold that like it's about like kind of simply getting like that 6 figures or whatever else stuff like that versus like kind of learning like here's the other thing that like what I talk about different times too is who you were got you to this point. Until you make the changes, like kind of that you really need to and stuff like that, like who you're becoming and stuff like that, that's what's really going to get you to where you want to be. And until you make that change and stuff, and that's also to me like kind of part of the hero's journey, like kind of because in the monomyth and stuff, the hero after facing the dragon and stuff like that, facing their fears and everything, they die, and that death is a symbolic death of like kind of where you have to transform. Like you definitely and getting sick and stuff like that, the transformation changed in terms of your mindset. It changed in terms of what you
everything about me, everything about me.
So that death had to happen, like kind of it was a symbolic one, but like the old you had to change in order for you to kind of, like step into, this new reality and stuff. And that's that's yet another thing that like nobody really talks about, is that, that you have to change, because otherwise you can make, how many lottery winners, right? They make these millions and stuff like that, and then they blow it all because they haven't changed their mindset. They haven't changed in terms of, their skills of managing the money. They haven't changed the circle around them, the advisors, if they're surrounded by these people who like, would rather them go back to the way things were and stuff like that. Guess what happens? They go back to the way things were instead of adopting new friends that understand, what they're going through,
elevate them, and exactly.
That's the other thing that I constantly talk about as well. Is about the idea rising tide raises all ships. If you're not surrounded by the people who are going to lift you up, they're going to drag you down. I mean, that's another kind of law. It's a law of physics. You're either surrounded by buoyancy or anchors.
Or you're going to be in the sinking ship.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Steve, do you want to jump in, or
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole rising tide raises all ships. I like the feel of team effort. I think the thing that really gets into people is, like you were saying, the new generation of kids today. They see all these success stories, but they don't see what goes on behind the scenes to get people there.
Right.
They think that it's going to happen in their first week in the business, and when they don't hit six figures, they quit that company and they'll jump into another one. And it's where me and John have had that conversation many times, where we really want to teach the younger generation how to really hone their craft. Learn your craft, learn what you're doing, learn the ins and outs of the business, and watch the magic happen. I mean, it takes time. Kids today, they need to understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's maybe not going to happen a month from now. You've got to put in the time to get the results.
And that's the thing too, where, I mean, on the one hand, what I love about Hollywood is that we have some of these awesome stories that really convey different times, that whole training sequence, and they're struggling, and like Rocky kind of goes through the training montage and stuff. It's great for from a perspective inspiring, and it kind of gets you uplifted and motivated stuff. But here's the problem with that, is that the reality of success, we see that kind of arc, right? And we think that that's success and stuff. But the reality is, Dimitri Martin, there's this cartoon that I'll have to share and stuff like that. It's it really looks like this, that's the reality of success, is this crazy kind of, loop-de-loop kind of, every which way, stuff like that. Like Steve and I talk about. I mean, that's absolutely what, it's a really, and that's one of the things why I love doing these stories with these entrepreneurs, that they're not like these big successes and stuff. A lot of them are still in it. They're still in the mix and still kind of doing what they can to kind of get through that next level and stuff. Because one of the questions I love to ask is, what does that next level look like for you? And it's just always interesting, the different answers you get. And the thing of it is different times, no matter what the answer is and stuff, it's really tied to how, it's often we have one idea of what the next level looks like, and then what I'd love to do is go back and talk with them again 6 months or a year from now, and I bet it looks different again.
Yeah, I mean, it's always amazing to watch people that you first meet, and then 3, 4, 6 months down the road, see how they've grown and how they've changed. And I know, for me, I'm personally a very introverted person. Unless I know you, if I get in a crowd of people that I know, or my family, oh my God, I'll talk your ear off. You can't shut me up. But if I'm in a crowd of people that I don't know, or, I'm the speaker standing in front of people kind of situation, then, it's harder for me. I can do it, but it's harder for me. So getting on Periscope and Blabs with people that I don't know yet has been tough, and that's something that a lot of people have to overcome. But it's just one of those things that it's part of the effort, it's part of the work, it's part of the growing, it's part of the changing that you have to do. And it makes you come out of your shell, but it just goes back to, if you don't have the fire, you don't have the want, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing right there. The key element of what you said was that you know, it's the idea we've already talked about stretching, you know, past what you were comfortable with and stuff like that. But you did it though because why? Because your reason, your why became stronger than the what, like kind of that, you know, the circumstances and stuff like that. And that's the thing that, like, you know, if your why is strong enough, the what just becomes less material. I mean, it's still like it's going to be what you push up against. But yeah, you know, once you had that why, that's what kind of drew you to that next level and stuff like that. And that's the thing that, like, I think, you know, one of the things that I try to talk about is working with, you know, different clients and like, you know, helping them be clear about their why, because that's the thing that, like, you know, unless they're clear about that, then, you know, it goes back to that same idea we talked about. There's not a whole lot we can do. You can have the best strategies, the best tools, the best, you know, all that kind of stuff, and none of that matters. I mean, you know,
I've had clients that every week that I talked to them, it was the same conversation for weeks. And it was just finally, you get to the point, you're just like, you know, either I'm not getting through or you just don't want to go there. You know, one of the two here. and it just, it's sad, but people just get stuck in that rut and they get comfortable with what they're doing, and then they just stop pushing themselves to go further. And we're all guilty of it. I've done it myself. You know, when I first was home, I didn't ever intend on business coaching, but I learned a lot of stuff and was talking to a lot of people. And I had another side thing that I was doing. I do business t-shirts. So I was promoting that, you know, and talking to people about that. And from doing that, people realized I knew a lot about social media and and got asked to coach and help. And that's just kind of how it came along. But, you know, from that, I realized, well, hey, you know, I got to step up my game. And you just have to recognize when you're at that point that you've got to go to that next level, that next level, that next level. And if you just sit there and be comfortable with playing it small, just letting people come to you when they decide they have a problem, and never reaching out to other people saying, hey, I'm coaching, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know, letting them know about my animated videos, my t-shirts, my this, my that I do. You know, you're not going to go anywhere. And I finally, after a couple of years of just being small, I'm just like, you know what? I know I'm doing this by myself. I'm a solopreneur, but I just can't keep staying here. This has got to move. This has got to go. You know, I've got to get the word out. And I really got serious about, you know, learning how to do email marketing better and, you know, getting the training and going to the conferences and meeting the right people. And, and that's the part that people don't see or hear about before they sign up and think that they're going to jump into something and make money, you know, right off the bat. No, no, it's not happening. Because people do not buy from people they don't know, like, and trust. So how many people do you have to know to really get people to come into your business and keep it going day after day after day, year after year after year?
Yep.
So I guess, you know, like, it seems like each of us, we've kind of worked with clients and stuff. And so what do we do with the folks who are stuck? I mean, you know, like, in other words, if they're not ready and stuff like that, is there anything we can do? I mean, I almost feel like there isn't much we can do. I mean, until they decide for themselves.
There's a point that you have to put it on them. You know, you have to say, okay, this is what's happening. This is what I see you doing. I don't see you trying. I don't see you progressing. So let's get real about that. You know, let's at least acknowledge that you're not doing any more than you did 3 weeks ago. And, you know, if they're not willing to take that next step and add on to whatever it is they need to do, then, you know, that it's on them. And as business coaches, we feel bad. I know I do. If I don't get somebody right to where I think they need to be, and they kind of give up on themselves due to time or money or whatever the problem is, but you know, that has to be back on them, because if their fire is not big enough and strong enough, it's just not going to happen for them.
Yeah,
I think that's, the only thing that we can kind of help them do is like to be more clear about their why, because
find the fire, talk about what the fire could possibly be.
Yeah.
But if you've already done that weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks into that, and they're still not pushing forward, then I just have to assume that they're not really serious. Maybe it's just not the right time for them. Maybe they have that wine, that fire, but maybe they have other personal things going on, or, I had one girl that she had a sick mom. It just wasn't the right time for her. She just needed to put that to the side and deal with her mom and pick it back up when things get better for her, So there are those clients that they're just not going to move forward. They're just not.
Yeah, I feel bad different times because like that like her situation, for example, like taking for example this gal you mentioned about her mom, you know that like if they took the different steps to improve themselves, then it makes things better for her to take care of her mom. In other words, then she's more capable as well. But the thing is, though, until she sees that like possibility, that like sees that changes her perspective essentially, like she's going to keep going this direction, like no matter how, like until she sees like what's possible in this direction, she will continue going this direction because that's still what she sees as like the way to go and stuff like that. And so that's the thing that like I struggle with is like, how do we, like what do we do to kind of get them to see this other direction? Like what can we do to kind of as leaders, as coaches, or like what does it take then to kind of help them to see what's possible?
Like for her, I think she was working a regular job, and then coming home at lunchtime, and then coming home in the evenings and taking care of her mom. And so they had like people a little bit during the day, but it was mostly her responsibility. There wasn't any other family really. And, it was kind of like, well, I only have maybe a couple of hours each night and I'm tired. I have to get ready for work the next day. And those are just personal choices. If you don't have enough fire to take those couple of hours, or maybe stay up a couple of extra hours and do on as less sleep, then that's, I don't know. I don't know how to get.
I feel like
that was probably my toughest one as far as pushing somebody forward. Right. What do you say to that? I mean, she's got to be exhausted working.
I feel like this is where I see it. Like right now, like kind of this is their north and stuff like that. Like kind of that's what they see as like kind of the direction to go. And until we help them to shift that magnetic north, and that's the why, until we help them shift that, they will keep going that direction. They will not change to that new direction and stuff. And it's like kind of, it does depend on whether they can, like choose to see it and stuff. And that's the thing that's crazy. Like kind of, unless they are open to that possibility of that, like there's this other direction they can go, there's other north and stuff, they'll keep going to that other direction. I mean, that's what's kind of, it's really interesting that way, that like they still have to make that choice of seeing this other possibility. I mean, we
talked about the fact that, okay, if you can get this going, you'll have more money to get more care,
right?
These things up for you. But I mean, that to me would have been a huge why for her. And she just wasn't willing. It's like, you have to give up something, and she just wasn't ready to give up. For her, it was sleep. Basically is what it boiled down to. For her, it was sleep. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely have heard of like, like just even like somebody like J.K. Rowling, right? Like on different train rides. I mean, Harry Potter was written while she was like going from one, like from home, home to work. I mean, just in other words, that like if you're driven enough, you're determined enough, you find that that time, like kind of even if it's like that 2 minutes a day, like kind of however you can move that 1%, to improve your life. And again, shifting, like even if you shift that 1 degree, at least you've kind of made that change and like kind of gotten somewhat in that direction. The tricky part is like kind of, like it's so much easier to kind of go back to that same direction again. And that's the thing that like really, Yeah, until like that new north becomes stronger and stronger and stuff like that, then they will just snap back to that. And I feel like along with like kind of, like we can say the different things, whatever, or help them see it and stuff. But I think it's like there's different things that they can do to kind of move in that direction. One of the things I talk about different times is like, we've talked about already, is like kind of surrounding yourself, like with a group of, like minds, like people who are like, finding that tribe of people who are trying to do also what you're doing, stuff like that. That really helps, because then that one first person who does it, then next thing you know, it's like the 4-minute mile. Next thing you know, everybody else is breaking the 4-minute mile and stuff. Like for me, like when I was, in Navy ROTC, stuff like that, seeing like that first guy who got, like kind of the first class PFD for fitness and stuff like that, then, like the rest of us said, we can do it too. Like kind of just, like, not that like, we thought like, oh, like kind of if he can do it, we can do it. But it was just like kind of the thing, like just seeing somebody doing it, just seeing that like kind of really made it stronger in our minds that like, it's possible. It's something that can be done and stuff. So I think that's the other part, is like kind of surrounding yourself with people who are doing it. I mean, that's part of, where it's no longer something that like kind of, is the only thing we see. We see like there is another possibility, The other thing is like kind of taking little steps, like kind of, like in the morning, like kind of, like just laying your clothes out, or like kind of, like for me, different times, it's, I have a routine that's pat now, like kind of, each morning it's 10 minutes meditation before I do anything else. Just taking that step and that, kind of building that habit and stuff. It's a small thing, but now like, writing comes so much easier to me because I have this ritual, like kind of just emptying out like all the junk that like kind of accumulated, and just taking that step and stuff. And it's like kind of, I don't even think about it. That's the thing, that like, if you have to think about it, it's so much easier to go back to square one. But it's like, if you kind of made it where it's like kind of part of your habits and stuff like that, that's another thing that's kind of key, is like kind of, whether it's like setting your alarm clock for like, like just whatever it takes to kind of make it that much easier, that the first thing that'll happen is you don't even think about what you're going to do. It's like kind of boom, that's the new direction and stuff. So that's the other thing.
Let just one thing put a kink in that road, and it's so easy to just. Because I know my 12-year-old just started online public school, so we've been homeschooling, but this is a different program. So now everything's on the computer instead of doing it from the books that we've been doing. Right. So our household has been in a whirlwind trying to deal with this new system, and her having to gather information a new way, and transitioning her into that. And it's just like, wow, you're really putting a kink in my schedule, girl. And it's really hard sometimes not to go back to those old habits of not excelling yourself when you've got something else in the mix trying to throw you off. So.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the discussion about education, but let's look at it this way. What's the purpose of memorizing all these facts and dates and all that kind of stuff when you just go to Wikipedia and you look up anything? Like kind of what's the point of memorizing that if like, versus learning the skill of where to find this information or how to better process the information, and like kind of, like in other words, we're still teaching the wrong skills versus the skills that really can make a difference now and stuff. I mean, that's the thing that like, is again like kind of the old way versus like the new way and stuff like that.
Yeah, memorize the word, not where to go get it, the word, and look it up if you need it.
I mean that's the thing that like I if we're gonna share any one thing probably out of today and stuff like that, is the idea of like kind of finding what it is that like really needs to be different, and recognizing like, and that's where it really starts, is just seeing that like some of the old ways are great for, at one point and stuff like that, but they just don't really, help you succeed in this economy and the things that's, kind of really changed. And like, it's invisible, I think, for most part. And that's why, like, as we were talking about earlier, I mean, I'm big on kind of, sharing, the red pill of the choose yourself and stuff. And like, that's been my kind of mission and stuff like that, is to kind of help share, spread that message and everything. So, Steve, like, what would you say also, like, in terms of some of the other kind of things that you've run into with, the people you've worked with that, like, have been stuck in kind of some of their patterns and stuff, and and how do you kind of get them to kind of get in that right direction and stuff?
Well, I think it's a matter of giving people options. If you give them one way of doing something, if it doesn't work for them, they're going to shut down right off the bat. So you have to help people find what works for them. And for me, I'm not like, I still work a full-time job. I'm still a full-time investigator, 40 to 50 hours a week. I run 2 businesses on the side, a wife, 4 kids. I don't have a lot of time to go out and do all these person meetings. So for me, I utilize online as much as I possibly can. But for some people, they struggle with the online marketing and they need to go out and do person to person. So what I do may not work for them. So I give people options and I let them know from the get-go. I call it intrusive leadership. I really get inside. I develop a relationship with each person on my team so that they know I'm there to help them win. But at the same time, I will not decide how hard I work with you. You will decide how hard I work with you.
Right.
And
it's more of you decide how hard you're going to work with me, because it's like, I'm going to pop in and check on you, but if you're not doing anything and you're not coming to me to schedule some time to ask me for help, you're a grown up, you have a business, you need to take responsibility.
Yeah. I tell people, you step, I step. And for the most part, I tell a lot of people that, you know what, if you're in this with me, I'll mirror match any effort you put and then some. But I will not go chasing you to wake you up to come to work.
Yeah. Not a babysitter.
Yeah. I've got on my plate, so my time is valuable to me.
I call that the law of repulsion. It's like kind of like if you're chasing somebody to kind of, even if it's for their best interest and stuff like that, you are driving them in the wrong direction. I mean, that's, like it doesn't benefit anybody. It's a burn on your energy and your effort and where you can better help other people, stuff like that. And it's also for them, it puts them further out from where they really need to be and stuff like that. So nobody wins from that and stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, developing over time. I mean, I've only been in the industry for 3 years, so I'm still learning a lot even to this day. I've been reading a lot of personal development, and I think the biggest thing that I learned was, as a leader, you're going to have to sacrifice sleep. And it's not going to matter where you are in the world, you're going to have to sacrifice sleep. And I learned that firsthand when I started a team internationally, and that time difference kicked in. I had teams in China. Oh, Lord. It was ridiculous. I was having to be online at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, hadn't been to sleep yet. Or I would go to sleep super early so I could make sure I woke up to make sure I caught the time difference right. And I'm on Skype to help these people. But as a leader, to be able to make those sacrifices to make sure your people are taken care of. Because the second they don't feel supported, that's game over.
Yeah, they're gone. That's it. They're gone.
Poof, they're gone.
Yeah. Recently I've been starting to watch Band of Brothers again, and it's kind of really, I think for some reason, brought back some of my memories from, and probably you too, Steve, like kind of that idea of like, the different things involved with real leadership. It's like kind of, granted we're not in the battlefield and like kind of things are, bullets are flying and all kinds of stuff, but it's still like so like very pertinent, or like kind of really, it's so applicable of the ideas that like, really, like you said, kind of choosing to put, service first. I mean, that's one of the things that like really, like to me, like the people that I've always not only admired, but like realized why they were who they were and stuff like that, weren't people about like they wanted to like boss people around, like to like kind of really, different times, kill people, all that kind of stuff. It's about that they wanted to help, others. They wanted to serve others and stuff. And that's always been like a key thing, that level of service. Like I remember like this one guy when he retired and stuff like that. And one of the key things that people do at retirement ceremony is this poem called The Watch. And it's the idea, like, kind of, it has this images of, basically while, like your families are sleeping at night and stuff like that safely, and like while, like kind of different times, down below in the city, like kind of the lights are kind of dimming and stuff like that. It's still like kind of, why you were there on that wall watching over them and stuff like that is that, you feel this commitment to, basically making sure that they're taken care of and stuff. And so for me, like,
it's like, I guess because maybe I'm a woman, I kind of see it as like my team is my little fledglings. I have to make sure that everybody's doing okay. But you like you say, you got to reach out to them, make sure that they have the information that they need, make sure that you're providing the training that you need to provide. But at some point, it's kind of like that teenager that won't ever leave the house and get a job. You can't coddle them. You have to say, okay, you're a grown up. This is your business. Yes, you joined my team. Here are the tools. I'm here anytime you need me. These are the training dates, and you need to show up. And if they don't show up, you can't make people grow unless they're hungry. They have to have that hunger and that fire. And that is something that I have definitely learned over time. It's just nothing you can push people into.
Hey, Andres, how are you?
Hey, guys, how are you doing?
Good,
hey,
good.
How are you?
Excellent. Can you hear me good?
Yep.
Yes, very well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, just coming over here. I just see you guys just to say hi and being part of that conversation.
Thank you.
And being an unstoppable entrepreneur. I consider myself an unstoppable entrepreneur.
So what makes you unstoppable? Like, what is it that, like, kind of, versus somebody who kind of gives up and stuff like that? What keeps you going?
Adventure, discovery. Is being in the space of really discover new things. And I love technology. I've been 20 years in technology. And I've been started up companies in pretty much since my early age. I'm talking about like 15 years old when I started my own businesses, and I become a professor. I become a professor not because I wanted to be a professor in my own university, but just because I have passion for teaching. And I just said, okay, this is my new venture, and I start a new venture, and based on necessity. So when I found some necessity to myself, instead of outsource it, I create the business, and then I hire the people, the experts, to take over. So they provide my service and they fulfill my necessity. So they provide a solution. So, but my passion is really being in the spirit of discovering new things and how exactly can I add value to other people's lives based on the product or service. And of course, there a lot of passion there, but also add to the business model that actually is going to monetize that passion.
So what I hear though is that, like, rather than being the one that, like, necessarily is actually doing the actual whatever needs to get done and stuff like that, you've kind of helped to build these teams that, like, kind of help, they accomplish what needs to be done, but you're the one who, like, kind of is bringing together, like, the solution and stuff, and helping them to direct their efforts to provide what it is that, like, needs to be done. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, like, kind of that. In other words, you saw that, like, part of it is your role. And that's what it is to me, is like a role of being a leader and helping to guide, these different folks that, like, are doing what needs to be done and stuff like that.
That's correct. That's exactly, you articulate
awesome.
Very well. It's just that I know that it's something that must be done, and how we're gonna get it done, I don't have a clue. Okay, but I know that we need to get it done. So we need to find the experts. We need to find the people that actually is going to get it done. So probably I'm going to be part of it. Absolutely. That's my intention.
Right.
If I'm gonna be the one that actually gonna do it, I don't think so, because nobody can do it but things by themselves. So it's a team effort.
And I think that's the thing that, like, I get asked a lot on Quora, that, like, people ask, what business can I start, or how do I start a business? And the thing that they focus on all the time is the how, and that's, as if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a leader and stuff like that, it's, even though that, like, you need to kind of recognize, like, what is the problem, and kind of help to make it clear for your team and stuff like that. But the thing is, though, it's not, like, you're not there to, like, kind of show them how to do it. Not your client, not, like, your team and stuff like that. You're there to kind of help them to see what is the problem, and why is it a problem, or why is it important to be solved and stuff like that. So in other words, you're there to basically help them to kind of be clear about what it is that, like, kind of needs to be done, not the how and stuff.
Exactly. It's more about to see get the clear the vision, that actually is the vision is where we're going, and the mission, how we're gonna get there, is we got to figure it out, and we need to adjust on the path. We need to adjust as we grow. So it's a process. So yeah, I haven't considered myself like a leader, but I just want to go, well, it's just that I just, if it's necessary to, if it's about to jump, I just jump. Okay. So, but definitely it's a lot of conversation there about leadership and practicing more. That is not about you, but it's about to giving. It's about to being in service.
Awesome.
Well, speaking of service and giving, guys, I have got to go because I've got to prepare for some stuff I've got to do tomorrow. But it's been great to meet you guys.
Same here. And thanks for stopping by.
Enjoy your Blab, and I hope to see you on Blab again soon.
Awesome.
John, what time zone are you in?
I'm in Pacific time. How about yourself?
Eastern.
Okay. Wow, it's really late for you, though.
Miami.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Miami?
You're also
okay, so you're Eastern too. Okay. Well, I'm usually on here in the evening hours, so see you guys around. Nice to meet you again.
Yeah, let's follow up. So we stay
definitely.
in touch.
I followed you, and I'm at Cash Life Mastery on Twitter too.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care, guys.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Bye.
Andres, do you want to kind of also talk a little bit about, some of the different folks you've been working with, and, like, I think we'll just kind of wrap it up with that then and stuff like that. And what would you say, like, kind of is another aspect of being unstoppable as an entrepreneur, like, in terms of, is it the mission, or, like, kind of what is it, like, kind of that keeps you with the eye on the prize?
It's just the spirit. For example, I believe that is actually the spirit. I have tech companies. I have two technology companies. One is a cloud service provider, and the other one is communications as well. So I've been with those companies for about 10 years. Okay. And those businesses generate residual income. So I don't need to work. I stopped working pretty much like 9 years ago. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it has been about 9 years that I haven't done pretty much not too much work, if we call it work. But my lifestyle is so I don't need to. I just get up to go to the beach to run, but I keep my mind like in some type of action, some type of activity. So it's to me, it's really important that if I'm not doing something like to grow, I'm wasting my time.
Right.
If I'm not growing, it means that I am dying. Now, it's a huge impact as well to being in that position, because sometimes I get too comfortable, and comfort kills. Why? Because it's too much. It's too much comfortable. The comfort zone is there. That actually is a situation that doesn't push me, because there is no financial pressure. So if there is no financial pressure, well,
Right.
it's kind of laid back. Okay. But still I have the entrepreneurial, that actually I want to jump in multiple opportunities and create a different, when I see an opportunity, I just want to materialize it and see what exactly can we do, and what kind of people can I bring to each one of those opportunities. I'm a strong believer about the relationships. That is just about the relationships. Yeah. We have a ton of contacts in our cell phones, but we never know who is gonna match for what. But also never underestimate who's gonna be the one that you're gonna need maybe sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Right. So to complete your question is really that is the spirit. It's just the spirit that is there. And it's important to look for the money. Yes, because it's a way to amplify who you are. And it's an extension of you, who you are physically, because it's a resource to get more done. And but more than that is really what exactly can we do to make things better. It's like the spirit of it's like they have the spirit of keep growing, you know.
So, yeah, I mean that's the thing that we talked about a little bit earlier, is the idea of you know, unless the person sees that reason to change, then it's really hard. In other words, you have this vision of kind of growing, and that's your why. That's what drives you, stuff like that. But if somebody doesn't have that, if they don't have, they don't see a why, then it's so easy for them to stay just in their stuck. I mean, that's kind of really what it is. And that's the thing that really, I think no matter what it is that how great the tools are, like you said, or how, kind of always, maybe they have tons of contacts and all that. It doesn't matter if they don't really feel like that, that there's a real reason why they need to change and stuff. And that's the thing, so I think what to me makes an unstoppable entrepreneur is that they see kind of something that kind of a reason to kind of be unstoppable, a reason to kind of keep going and stuff like that. Seeing that reason, that kind of, why they need to kind of keep going, stuff like that, then, maybe for somebody it's their family, or maybe for someone else is that they've always had a dream of kind of, traveling around the world. Whatever that reason is and stuff, if it's strong enough, then that will keep them going, kind of, past, 2 a.m. when kind of other people have just kind of gone to bed or given up and stuff like that. It's, it's really having that, that north, that kind of, that keeps pointing their compass in that direction.
Yeah. But I mean, there is a way also, but inside of that why, I believe that is the how you visualize that, because there's a lot of purpose. Yes, you have it, you have the why, but it's a good exercise. What exactly are you visualizing? So in visualizing is a good exercise, because okay, you got clear the purpose. That's pretty much kind of the fuel. Okay, that's the core fuel of, or let's say that that's the engine. Okay, that's the core. Visualization it gives you more clarity to the why, because if you can visualize how exactly it's gonna be, what kind of numbers, what kind of goals, or how you see yourself, who you might become in one specific period of time, a specific time frame. If that exactly excites you, it will definitely get a lot of energy, because it's visualization. So how do you see yourself? And it's not just about yourself, but how do you see yourself making the impact in other people's life? What are you doing here in this world? So what kind of how many thousands of people can you help? And indirectly, because yesterday I got a conversation with a friend, and how powerful is the impact of a team effort. So if we said we're gonna feed 1,000 people in 1 hour, so what does it take to feed 1,000 people? Maybe just everything started with as an idea. Maybe it was just my idea,
Right.
but I'm not gonna feed just by myself. I'm not gonna feed 1,000 people in 1 hour. So what does it take? Enrollment conversation. So how many people do I need to engage to accomplish that? So the people need to see that. So how we're gonna make it in 1 hour? How many? 1,000 people. So what does it need to get it done in 1 hour in order to fulfill that goal, right? So that was pretty much a very funny exercise. Well, it was not that funny, but it was powerful, because pretty much one person comes up with an idea and enroll 10 people, and that 10, each one of those 10 people enroll another 10, and boom, that's it. So how powerful is the team effort? How powerful is really not just to keep your idea with yourself, okay? Because there is a lot of entrepreneurs that actually they don't like to share their ideas.
Right.
Okay. So my point is never be afraid of sharing your intentions, because whenever people see they believe in the possibility, and they believe in your vision, and they believe in yourself, they're gonna do it, because they don't run because of you. They run because they see something for themselves as well.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
And I think that's one of the things that make it unstoppable. So this conversation, what does it make it unstoppable as an entrepreneur? Create an idea and share that idea with your team, with the people. I mean, who's going to be your team? Well, the people that's going to show up in your team. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And really, like, we talked about earlier about the idea of, like, kind of, as you get the message out and stuff like that, you will attract the people that share your vision, share, your why and stuff. And really, that's the key, is like kind of, to basically not to chase after people that follow you or that you want to follow you and stuff like that, but really to kind of, I don't even know if the word is invite, but basically like to kind of make it so clear as to what it is that, like, the thing that you're looking to kind of achieve and stuff like that, and then to have, people that really get what it is that you're trying to do, and then to track those, that's like kind of, that's the sweet spot to me, is like kind of, really having that such clarity that, like, then it's, to me, part of what makes it unstoppable is that, like, it's so clear that, like, people just feel drawn to, like, kind of being part of that and stuff. And I think the more you make that clear, the more, you'll attract the right people, and the the people that can really make it happen and stuff too. Like you said, just, because it's great to have ideas. It's great to, like, kind of, even have, like, different ways of doing it. But, like, until you have, like, the actual people take part in it, that's the other thing that I think really, as an entrepreneur, is like, this whole solopreneur thing and stuff, it's then you're still doing the work. Then that's really not, an entrepreneur is like somebody who not only sees the problems and finds ways to solve them and stuff, but they bring other people that can make it, happen again and again. That, like, in other words, they, like, separates you from being a solopreneur or freelancer or whatever else. Is the idea that, like, you basically bring in other people into your vision, and that's how you execute and stuff, like you've talked about in some different ways and stuff. So
correct.
Awesome.
Correct.
Well, I actually have to cut this short, Andre. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, and really appreciate you kind of contributing to the discussion. I'll definitely look forward to, like, kind of, next time, stuff like that, inviting you and covering some of these other kind of topics. My thing is, like, kind of talking to creative entrepreneurs, folks who, like, they are in creative fields that, like, whether it's sometimes it could be filmmakers or musicians, and really like I think they struggle with like kind of this idea of like a enterprise and being an entrepreneur and being an artist and stuff. That's the kind of the people that like really I find have the most difficulty, and people I feel drawn to kind of really help and stuff like that.
Got it.
Yeah, if that is something that like you'd be interested in, I would love to kind of invite you to kind of other conversations in those realms.
Absolutely. My pleasure, and thank you for having me, and thank you for the invitation. Yeah, where are you based? What city?
I'm outside of Los Angeles, about the 40 minutes east.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm here in Miami, so
nice.
That's good. And also something I want to say is that fundamentals of businesses never change. So it doesn't matter if it's going to be art, it doesn't matter what kind of product or service it's going to be. Right. Fundamentals never change. What does it change is innovation. So it's important to be keeping innovation. So absolutely, it will be my pleasure to participate, and I'm here to serve.
Awesome. Alrighty.
Okay.